Hello and welcome to the Ant-Man channel. It is Tuesday, the 26th of August 2014, and I'm your host Ant-Man. This was posted about 2 days ago, and I thought it was very interesting. This is an article by Clash Daily with Doug Giles, ClashDaily.com, and it looks like Thomas F. Matt. I don't know, it doesn't say who wrote this one. Probably Doug Giles himself wrote this one because he didn't sign it as himself, but you know, it's his website, so you just kind of take it as it. Anyways, Muslims nonsense. So Muslim nonsense. Here's the real history of the Crusades. One of the most misinterpreted times of history in our day is the Crusades. I always hear from atheists that that religion is the reason why there are wars. Now, I laugh at that statement because, yeah, it's true, duh. Like, people fight because of their beliefs. Obviously, if I believe that I'm a free man and that I'm not supposed to be a slave to another man, then I'm going to fight for that right. I'm going to do what the dudes in 1776 did. They got guns and they were ready for anyone trying to invade. And that's what you should do. We always remember Romans 13 and how people misinterpret it and tell you to just be a domesticated, feminine type man, where you don't say anything you believe and you just kind of, you get offended at everything and you try to act macho and, you know what I mean? Like, it's just the weakness, it really drives me crazy, man, because you're not tough if you act like a 12-year-old throwing a tantrum. It doesn't justify that you're right either. It just means that you're weak. So don't ever think that just because you get angry and you yell at people that you're right about anything. It's just that you're emotionally governed. You have to get emotionally amped up for yourself. I don't know, man. It's just that people want to live in a bubble and they hate it when you burst their bubble, so to speak. So here's something else I want to burst your bubble on. The Crusades. We all know, because of the Reformation and the 16th century things that were going on, that the Catholic Church lied to people. And that they actually told them that if you go fight in the Crusades, then that means that you will be in purgatory for this many years, or you won't go to hell or whatever. They lied to people because the people, believe it or not, believed in God at one point in time. Pretty much the whole world believed in God, because after, you know, the apostles went out and we're starting to... Man, if you look at all the Middle East, all around the Mediterranean Sea, that all used to be Christian. Now, when you look at it, in the first century, it used to be Christian. Now, when you look at it, it's all been Islamized, or Islamicized, or whatever, however you say that. And it was done by force and intimidation and violence. And they're cutting 5-year-olds in half, people. And you want to join these people? Like, the people in Britain right now are like, oh, they're converting to ISIS. They're joining ISIS at an alarming rate. Why? Why are you joining a... I mean, I know that there's a lot of confusion and lostness out there. People don't know what's really going on. But these people are not fighting for liberty. These people are not fighting for you. They're fighting against you and all of humanity. And what makes humanity so good is that we... The sense of the conscience that we will go out to reach our hand, to extend our arm, to extend the hand to someone that is in a crappy situation or bad circumstances or is poor, sick, whatever. What makes the human being do something that doesn't seem rational? It doesn't seem rational to help anybody, because what am I going to get out of it? Exactly, is because that's what makes us human beings so good, is that we have that law of God written on our heart where we know what right and wrong is. And when we see someone that has had misfortune in their life, we want to reach out to them and say, what's up? But when I see ISIS, what does that have to do with what makes a humanity in the world a better place? Nothing. They want to just convert people by force. But anyways, this is the real history of the Crusades. There are a lot of misconceptions surrounding the Crusades, usually portraying Muslims as the innocent victims. Check out this little history refresher. Thomas F. Madden, medieval historian and expert on the Crusades, believes that the world could use a refresher course, starting with the undeniable facts. You see, I could go on about other issues that are irrelevant to this article in our day. Like, I was watching, if you guys don't know who the Doctor of Common Sense is, go check out his YouTube channel. His name is E.T. Williams. He writes books, and he's an African American who talks about the issues portraying, the issues going on with all of the racism that the mainstream media wants you to believe is racial injustice. when it really is, what's more, what appeals to me more is that there's police officers that do try to act like judge, jury, and executioner out there, and they're not allowed to do that because we live in a republic that has a constitution that says that you have to go before a judge before anyone kills you, all right? And it has to be justified. You can't just have capital murder on people because we're not living in the Old Testament where if someone cheats on their wife, we're going to take them out of the town and stone them to death. We do things a little differently now. So just to let you know that what he said was true. What the blacks are doing in Ferguson, it makes you guys look like you guys are the KKK, because back in the 50s when white people were looking for black people to beat up all the time, that's what you're doing now. And that makes you guys look bad. And you make all the intelligent, hardworking, like good black African Americans look bad, because that's not doing anything right, and you look like an idiot because you're hurting the economy by looting and rioting. You're letting the agenda that Barack Obama, Eric Holder, and Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton want. They want to practice martial law. They want to have all these things happen. They want us to have a race war. They want civil war to break out. So you're feeding the system by doing that. But anyways, the misconceptions about the Crusades are all too common. The Crusades are generally portrayed as a series of holy wars against Islam, led by power-mad popes and fought by religious fanatics. They are supposed to have been the epitome of self-righteousness and intolerance, a black stain on the history of the Catholic Church in particular and Western civilization in general. A breed of proto-imperialists. The Crusaders introduced Western aggression to the peaceful Mideast and then deformed the enlightened Muslim culture, leaving it in ruins. Christians in the 11th century were not paranoid fanatics. Muslims really were gunning for them. When Muhammad was waging war against Mecca in the 17th century, Christianity was the dominant religion of power and wealth. The Christian world, therefore, was a prime target for the earliest caliphs, and it would remain so for Muslim leaders for the next 1,000 years. With enormous energy, the warriors of Islam struck out against the Christians shortly after Muhammad's death. They were extremely successful. Muslims had already conquered all of North Africa and Spain by the 8th century, and in the 11th century, Asia Minor was overtaken as well. Christian culture was being dissolved, and Christians were forced to leave behind their faith and convert or die, which is going on to this day. There has not been in the history of the entire world more persecution than there is going on right now. And I can't even believe when I hear someone say there is no no. You live in a bubble. You live in a fake reality if you believe that. You don't live in reality. You don't really listen to what's really going on. You just go and put on the television and you're just your eyes are doing that thing where it's like you're going in circles. You're not really conscious. You're just hypnotized. That's you right now. Because you're not even really seeking out true journalism. You just want to hear whatever your itching ears want you to hear, because you don't want to have anything that has to do with morality come into your ears, your heart, your eyes. You don't want those things because they make you aware of something, that you are fearfully and wonderfully made, that Jesus Christ died for you to not go to hell. But these things require you to want to be a better person, not to just stay in the same comfort zone, so to speak, of wanting to perpetuate all of the ugly things that you do, because all of us have bad habits, all of us do bad things, and we need Christ because he points us to a better way of living. And if we don't admit we're sinners and we don't let God work on us, we're going to continue to do these things, and they're going to eventually lead to your death. That's what the Bible says, and that's what actually happens. So let's seek truth and not just what it benefits us, so that our conscience isn't bugging us all day and that we don't have any guilt or feel, it's good to be sorrowful in a good way. If you're sorrowful toward people being cut in half when they're only 5 years old because there's ISIS terrorists running through their village, that's a good type of sorrow. That produces repentance in your heart. But when you get sorry because a girl dumped you or whatever, that's a selfish type of sorrow that leads to death, because that kind of sorrow it's ultimately kind of a selfish type of sorrow. Of course, nobody likes getting rejected or dumped by the person that liked you and knew you the most and whatnot. That's devastating. But if it consumes you, you see, like you don't like if you're in a relationship, if you're a married person, you know that God, if especially you guys are believers in God, that you don't need the other person. You need God. That other person isn't yours. They're God's. Your marriage doesn't revolve around you. It revolves around God. And these things, God, he gave marriage to us, and yet you wonder why so many people get divorced nowadays, because they don't really know what they're engaging in. They don't really even know what they're getting themselves into. And I don't know about you, but when you spend time with a lot of time with a certain person for a long time, don't you get a little annoyed? Well, that is what marriage teaches you, man. Is that you kind of got to have the unconditional love God shows you. Men out there, love your wife the way God loves the church. Because it doesn't, you know what I mean? Sometimes we don't care, and sometimes we do believe or whatever, and that's kind of how it is with the wife, you know what I mean? It's you got to put up with some stuff. You got to let her, you got to be unconditional with your love toward her in certain ways, and you can't let the insecurities or whatever you're failing to live up to kind of thing not get you down. But anyways, I'm not a marriage counselor. I'm just saying this is what I know about relationships and whatnot. But anyways, and I totally went off and went on a whole different trail there, but let me just get back into this here. So yeah, at this point, the emperor in Constantinople called for help from fellow Christians in Western Europe, thus giving birth to the Crusades. It is often assumed that the central goal of the Crusades was forced conversion of the Muslim world. Nothing could be further from the truth from the perspective of medieval Christians. Muslims were the enemies of Christ and his church. It was the Crusaders' task to defeat and defend against them. That was all. Muslims who lived in Crusader-won territories were generally allowed to retain their property and livelihood, and always their religion. It was not until the 13th century that the Franciscans began conversion efforts among Muslims, but these were mostly unsuccessful and finally abandoned. In any case, such efforts were by peaceful persuasion, not the threat of violence. As in all wars, religious or political, there were mishaps and crimes, but plundering and senseless slaughter of civilians was a rarity. Still, these condemnable war crimes seem to be the only part of the Crusades that people remember. However, these acts were strongly condemned and punished by the church. So, I guess the gist of it is that in those days there was the Arab world was kind of, you know what I mean? They were coming into the popular belief of the time. Obviously not of our time. Everybody, practically everyone you know, hates God or doesn't believe in him. And nowadays it has changed that way because of the Enlightenment and how we have all these cool toys, and how grown men act like little kids because of all these toys we have. But back in the day, when all they had were swords and knives, and they pretty much worked all the time making stuff, and they didn't have all the technology in the world to distract them or whatever. They were living in those times where Christianity was really prominent, and the Muslim religion came through. And they were just kind of looking at it as something to defend against. Like I said earlier, the popes, the Catholic Church are all corrupt. They don't base their religion on the Bible, even though they would like you to think that. They are hardcore pagan at heart. Their own doctrines tell them that their pope is God, and that they're just, the Jesuit order came out of that. So they even have a rogue sect within the Catholic Church that acts as if they were being directed by Satan himself, which it wouldn't be even hard to believe. And it's funny that you see that we have a Jesuit pope right now in I don't even know his Fruity Loop name, but he is a Jesuit, man, and he has been caught doing atrocious things on record. And he is like hardcore Nazi as well, man. I mean, just like the Zionist Jews are. They're just all hateful toward you white people, man. You white people, I don't envy you, man. You guys are being targeted by blacks, Muslims, Satanists, and nobody likes you these days. So take comfort in the Christian, me. I don't even pay attention to the color of my skin. I get called whitewashed by my own people because I'm an American and I love being enlightened and not sounding like every other moron that has to talk like a thug and has nothing going on upstairs. It's just, you know what I mean? It's just, that's the way it is, dude. You got to take the persecution, the suffering as it goes, because we know that the world hates us because we're not of the world. We don't follow the things that the world follows. We follow after Jesus Christ. And we're not ashamed to say that. And if you want to kill me because I believe in that, then come at me, bro. because I'm not afraid of you. And I'm gonna defend myself because I don't believe in Romans 13 the way the charismatic and emergent movement Christians believe it to be. I defend myself. You come at me and I will swing back at you, guarantee. And I look at a fight as a fun endeavor. I like to practice mixed martial arts. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna go to the gym right now. But anyways, I don't invoke violence on nobody, man. I tell you guys that you need to be afraid of God and not me and not anybody else, because that's what will set you free. Not because when you're afraid of man and what he says, when global warming, whenever man is making up nonsense for you to be afraid of, that's when the warning signs need to go off in your head and say, this seems like corruption. Like the people are trying to tax me for breathing my own oxygen. This is my oxygen, because God gave me this body and this mind and everything, and I'm here on earth like everyone else, and I have the same right to this oxygen as everyone else. And if you knew science, then you would know that the plants are giving off oxygen and taking in the carbon dioxide that we give out. So it's like an exchange. So how is it that it just doesn't make sense? There's a lot of science out there that is not science. It's rhetoric, and it's evil. It is pointed at you so that it can. We need to get the population down. Yeah, somehow that's a benevolent thought, because Bill Gates is smart and he must be right. So killing people must be virtuous and it must be good for the world. You know what, dude? People might even worship the creation instead of the creator. But I mean, it's even self-refuting, and it's even a hypocrisy to think that like poisoning people through the food and the water and all that is doing the earth something good. I mean, it's just. People, fear God, and you will be smart. Fear people, and you will be dopey, and you will look dopey, and you will look like all the other idiots that are they're just watching MTV all day. And unfortunately, man, that's what's brainwashing you. And I love you. That's why I tell you this. So you guys out there, man, keep defending liberty, man, and keep pursuing truth, and God bless.